Okay guys, what we have today, I'm going to go through one problem of every example. Solving graphically, solving with substitution, and solving with elimination. We've done all these. We did graphically on Monday, substitution we did Wednesday, and elimination we did Thursday. So I'm just going to review one of each for you, and then you'll have a couple to practice on your own. Okay? So the first page in your packet, these are the problems we're going to look at together. If you have to solve it graphically, then obviously you have to use a graph. So right here, I can just graph it. I can use the y-intercept and slope. So the y-intercept is -2. The slope is 3, so I'm going to go up 3 over 1. And then I can just get my line that way. And because I have 2 lines that are going to end up on this graph paper, I need to make sure I label them, as do you. Now, my second equation, I cannot graph it as is. I need y equals mx plus b form. So the first thing I have to do is I have to move the x over. So y equals -x plus 6. That I can graph. Now this one I'm actually going to do on my calculator just so you can see one of each. Anything you can use your calculator for. So if you get stuck with the slope or something, just put it on your calculator. So -x plus 6, I've got a bunch of points here. I'm just going to plot them and see what I get. 1, 5, 2, 4. Oh, that looks good. Now I have 3 points that I got from my calculator. Now I can just keep the process going. Go down and over, down and over. So now I can just keep that pattern going. Once I get a couple points, I can see what that pattern is. Just continue. And again, you know you're looking for the point of intersection. So once you get that, you're in pretty good shape. And we must label. Now remember, if it says solve, you need to state the solution. The solution is the point of intersection. Over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, up 4. So that's how you solve graphically. You just graph both lines, find the point of intersection, and you're done. Now, solving using substitution. Remember, this is where we're just swapping 2 things. If you look at this, you want to find an equation where you have a letter by itself. Notice that y is by itself. Well, what does y equal? -2x minus 5. So then I go to the other equation, and I want to find my y. That's where I have to substitute. That's what I'm swapping. Remember, it's kind of like a $10 bill and 2 5s. You're just trading. That's all you're doing. So in this equation, I'm going to write down 4x minus 2. Now, in place of the y is gone, and in place of it, -2x minus 5 equals 2. Now, here's an equation where I just have to solve for x. So I'm going to distribute. I can combine like terms. Subtract 10. And divide by 8. Remember, if I'm going too fast, it is a video. You can hit pause. So I've got x equals -1. Now remember, that's part of my answer. I still have to go back and find y. So I'm going to pick the bottom equation. And I'm going to substitute in. X is -1, so I can stick that right in here. -2 times -1 is 2. So my final answer, -1, -3, is the solution. And that's that. Now, elimination. If you'll notice, the key to elimination, everything has to be lined up properly. So notice I have X's on top of each other, I have the Y's on top of each other, and then I have equal signs, and then I have numbers. So everything should be lined up. That's the clue that you should be using elimination, when everything's lined up correctly. Okay, so now when I look at this, I need one of the letters, one of the variables to cancel out, which means I need opposite numbers in front. I need a positive 5 and a negative 5, or a positive 10 and a negative 10, something like that. The method that I'm showing you, or that you saw yesterday, this will always work. Okay, there's other ways you could do it, but this method will always work. I need to multiply. If I want the x's to cancel out, then what I do, I take the x on top, multiply it to the bottom, and the x on the bottom, and multiply it to the top. Now look it. That's going to get me a 24, and this is going to get me a 24. I need one of them to be negative. Pick one and make it negative. This method will always work. Just take the front two numbers and flip-flop them, and make sure you have something positive and something negative. Now, when you multiply, make sure everything gets multiplied. 24x plus 30y equals 36. On the bottom, negative 24x, and that's exactly what I'm looking for right there, plus 28y equals a positive 80. Now, I have two numbers that are opposites. I've got a positive 24 and a negative 24. That means I can now add 24x plus a negative 24x adds up to 0. That's what I want. 30y plus 28y is 58y. And 36 plus 80 is 116. So I'm just adding everything together, going down. Now to solve for y, divide by 58. And let's see what we get. Y equals 2. Awesome. Half my answer is done. Now I need to go back to the beginning and pick one of the equations. I'm going to pick the top. And I'm going to substitute in. Now that I know that y is 2, I can plug that in so I can find x. Five times 2. And finally divide by 4. Final answer, -1, 2 is the solution. So what you've just seen are 3 different methods of getting the exact same answer. Now, you'll notice that the bottom 2 questions are in a big old box here. Substitution and elimination are considered algebraic methods of solving. You're not using a graph, you're crunching the numbers on paper. This is also on the front sheet of your packet. Solving algebraically means you can solve using substitution or elimination. You get to pick which method you want to use. So that's what you want to watch out for. If they tell you graphically, then you must use a graph. If they tell you substitution or if they tell you elimination, then they're telling you exactly what you have to do. Algebraically is a little different because that leaves you with an option. Now, you want to make sure you're looking for the proper option to pick. If you look at these 2 examples, notice, if you have a letter by itself, use substitution. If you have 2 equations where everything's lined up, then use elimination. Okay, and hopefully you'll get a feel for that. But now you have 1 example of every method, so now you can finish the rest of the problems on your own. Good luck.